Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or The Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about my must-own running backs for fantasy football in 2021. Inside of this video, we're going to be breaking down 3 running backs that I believe to be must-own running backs based upon where they are going at their current average draft position. But before we get on to the breakdown of these running backs, I would like to ask, if you are new to the YouTube channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, to please make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below. Not only is it free, me and the guys on the Awesemo Fantasy Football YouTube channel put out content every single day to help you guys win your 2021 Fantasy Football Championship. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure to hit that like button down below to help boost this video up the algorithm so that more beautiful people like yourself can see today's video. I would also like to ask, if you guys could, and you have a Twitter, to please follow me on Twitter at NotoriousFNTSY. I tweet a bunch about fantasy football related things. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Now, my first must-own running back for today's video is Austin Ekeler, running back of the LA Chargers. Current underdog ADP, running back number 8 off the board. Overall pick 12.20. Sometimes I've seen Austin Ekeler go as high as pick 6, 7 off the board, and as low as maybe the first couple of picks inside of the second round. It seems like unanimously everyone is on board with the Austin Ekeler train this season. Going into last season, I was basically the fucking conductor of the Austin Ekeler hype train. I was talking about how with Melvin Gordon gone, this opens the door wide for Austin Ekeler to potentially finish as a top 5 running back, led by the fact that he gets so much receiving work in this offense. Last season opens up and things are grim because Austin Ekeler is just not receiving any work really from Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod Taylor would rather just stand in the pocket and throw some incomplete passes over dump the ball off to, one of the better receiving running backs in the NFL. He'd rather just say, screw you, Austin Ekeler, I'm not dumping the ball off your way. But luckily for us, unlucky for Tyrod Taylor, he ended up getting accidentally stabbed in the lung by the team doctor. And then once Justin Herbert took over, the ascension, the greatness of Austin Ekeler was basically created in that season. Sadly, Austin Ekeler did end up getting injured, but he played really, really well when he was healthy. In 10 games, Austin Ekeler finishes the running back 26 in PPR, 29.5 PPR, and the running back number 35 in standard, averaging 16.5 PPR points per game, 13.8 half PPR points per game, and 11.1 standard points per game. Meaning, from a points per game perspective, Ekeler was the RB11 in PPR, 14.5 PPR, and the running back number 21 in standard, tied with Kenyon Drake, Melvin Gordon, and DeAndre Swift. Austin Ekeler is one of those running backs that very heavily benefits from a PPR or a half PPR format where those receptions are worth points. In standard, I wouldn't consider Austin Ekeler to be a must-own running back because so much of his value comes from the receiving game. Now, I'm not trying to devalue Austin Ekeler's rushing attack because he is very solid at running the ball, but he's never going to be given the opportunity to get like 20 plus carries a game like some of the other running backs that are going ahead of him inside of drafts. So Austin Ekeler is really just a must-draft running back if you're playing in PPR or in half PPR. Last season, in those 10 games, Austin Ekeler had 116 carries, which is 11.6 per game, ranking 38th at running back. Do I expect that number to go up? If I'm being honest with you, I think it will go up a little bit because I feel like this LA Chargers team as a whole is going to be a lot better in 2021. Now, I will knock on wood on that statement because in the past, we always feel like the Chargers are going to be a really, really good team. The defense is so strong, and then the defense just implodes with all these injuries, so I hope they're able to stay healthy because if the defense is able to stay healthy and the Chargers are up late in these games, Austin Ekeler will get a lot of garbage time rushing opportunities. He took those 116 carries for 530 rushing yards, which is 53 per game, ranking 34th at the running back position. Tacking on 65 targets, 6.5 per game, ranking 7th at running back, turning those into 54 receptions, 5.4 per game, ranking 4th at running back for 403 receiving yards, 40.3 per game, ranking 4th at running back for just 3 total touchdowns, number 47 at running back. Now, projecting touchdowns is one of the hardest things to do in fantasy football, unless, of course, it's a wide receiver that just doesn't score touchdowns. For instance, DJ Moore, you can probably project him to score like 4 or 5 touchdowns because he never really passes that mark. Julio Jones, he's never going to score like 10 touchdowns, so those are the kind of players where it's easy to project. But for Austin Ekeler, I wouldn't be surprised if this motherfucker went from scoring 3 touchdowns, and this season he ends up scoring like 10, 12, 13 touchdowns even on the the season. I believe the LA Chargers are going to be a dangerous offense this season. I believe that last year we saw exactly what we needed out of Austin Ekeler with Justin Herbert under center. Like I said at the beginning of the video, when Tyrod Taylor was under center, it was basically full-on panic from myself as well as everyone in the fantasy community, because Tyrod Taylor just was simply not dumping the ball off to Austin Ekeler for some reason. But now, with Justin Herbert as the starting quarterback, I believe that Austin Ekeler is going to be able to flourish this season and put up some huge numbers, especially if they give him the rock a little bit more in the rushing game this season. Next up, we have our second running back of the video. But before we get on in to the breakdown of the second running back, I'd like to let you guys know that football season is right around the corner, and Underdog is offering the biggest best ball tournament in history with a $3.5 million prize pool and over $1 million going to first place. Tune into our shows to get up-to-date NFL news and Underdog tips straight from our analysts. Deposit now using promo code AWESEMO to get a free $25. Start your football season right and start it right now with Underdog. Again, promo code AWESEMO to get a free $25. So the second running back we're going to be talking about in today's video is a running back who has been thrown basically inside of a blender recently into a spin cycle, because it seemed like everyone was starting to get really high up on Darrell Henderson, running back of the LA Rams, Underdog ADP running back 19, overall pick 42.30. But then yesterday, Sony Michel gets traded to the LA Rams, and basically everyone goes into full-on fucking panic mode because Sony Michel is going to have this quote-unquote huge effect on Darrell Henderson. What I believe actually happened here is that Sean McVay realized, hey, maybe I don't want Jake fucking Funk to be my running back too, and maybe we'll bring in Sony Michel, who has been talented in the past, and we'll go ahead and bring him in here. He'll be the running back too, and Darrell Henderson is still going to be the lead running back there. Reports came out today that Darrell Henderson is going to have a stranglehold over this offense. He is going to be the lead running back. Sony Michel is a fine backup running back, but with his knee injury concerns, why would you ever make him the starting running back? Sean McVay is never going to do it. Darrell Henderson is going to be the lead dog in this backfield, so please do not panic about Sony Michel being there for Darrell Henderson. In 15 games, Darrell Henderson finishes the RB 36 in PPR, 36.5 PPR, and the running back number 31 in standard last season, averaging 8.7 PPR points per game, 8.2 half PPR points per game, and 7.6 standard points per game. Meaning, from a points per game perspective, Darrell Henderson was the RB 44 in PPR, 42.5 PPR, and the running back number 37 in standard. So Darrell Henderson last season was one of the running backs that I was throwing the fade marker on, because I believed that Cam Akers was eventually going to get the stranglehold over this backfield and become the lead running back, because in my opinion, Cam Akers was a lot better than Darrell Henderson. And obviously that was true, and we saw Cam Akers take over for Darrell Henderson, but Cam Akers ends up tearing his Achilles, which was bad news bears. Obviously for him, it sucks that he's going to be missing the whole season, but that really opened the door for Darrell Henderson to take over for this team, and I am not worried at all, again, about Sony Michel. I think Darrell Henderson should be easily able to take over as the lead back on this team. Now, it's not going to be a full-on, quote-unquote, workhorse role for Darrell Henderson, but he will be the lead running back on a team that is very, very good with Matthew Stafford going there in the offseason. I think this team's going to be putting up a whole shit ton of points, and Darrell Henderson will obviously be a huge benefactor of that. Last year, Darrell Henderson had 138 carries, 9.2 per game, ranking 30th at running back, having 626 rushing yards, 29th at the running back position, as well as tacking on 24 targets, 48th at running back, 16 receptions, 56th, and 155 receiving yards, 42nd, for 6 total touchdowns on the season, ranking 24th at the running back position. But we saw multiple games last season when Darrell Henderson was the clear guy there, where he finished inside of the top 12 at the running back position. Week 2, up against the Philadelphia Eagles, he had 121 total yards and 1 total touchdowns, finishing 11th in half PPR format on the week. Week 3, up against the Buffalo Bills, 120 yards, 1 touchdown, finishing 11th in half PPR formats. Week 4, up against the New York Football Giants, he did disappoint point with 45, finishing 45th at running back in half PPR. But week 5 up against the Washington football team, 68 total yards, one more yard off of being very nice with 69, with 2 total touchdowns in that game, number 6 at running back. So if you give the ball to Darrell Henderson, he's going to be able to do something. The reason why Cam Akers surpassed Darrell Henderson is because Cam Akers is a next level legitimate starting running back in the NFL. To me, he has some very elite talent, and that's why he was able to so easily surpass Darrell Henderson. But this should not be a knock on Darrell Henderson's talent. It's more of a praise on how good Cam Akers is. So I believe here in LA, Darrell Henderson, even with Sony Michel, could finish as a top 12 back, and that is why I'm touting him as a must-own running back for this season. But before we get on in to the final running back of this video, I would like to let you guys know that the Awesemo Fantasy Football Draft Kit is available for season-long and best ball fantasy leagues. The same tools, projections, and analysis that we use in the NFL DFS goes into this package, which includes our draft wingman, best ball rankings, and stacking guide, trade value chart, and so much more. You'll also receive up to $35 in credit for Underdog and FFPC leagues. You can get this package for 33% off when you use promo code WINYOURLEAGUE at checkout. Again, code WINYOURLEAGUE at checkout. That's less than $10 for everything that we have to offer for season long and with best ball. So just go ahead and click the link in the description of this video to activate the offer. Again, code WINYOURLEAGUE. It's under $10. You're basically losing money if you don't buy it. So make sure you guys go ahead and check that out. Final must-own running back of the video. One of my favorite running backs of this offseason. Now, he's starting to finally get the smoke, get the type of praise that he should have been getting all offseason. I saw this motherfucker get drafted inside the 5th round of a Yahoo draft today, and I've been drafting him for the last couple of months. But now, with Sony Michel gone, people finally started to realize that Damien Harris is the real deal. Running back 29 off the board right now, pick 83.30, but that thing is climbing. He's going to continue to rise up the draft boards because now that Sony Michel is gone, magically Damien Harris can be good. What kind of shitty argument is that? Damien Harris should have been getting drafted very highly. Sony Michel would have had zero impact on Damien Harris. Now, the biggest downside to Damien Harris is the fact that he has yet to really acquire any type of target share in the offense when it comes to receiving at all in his career. Last year, he only had 7 targets in 10 games, 5 receptions, 52 receiving yards. But if you go back to his college days at Alabama, Damien Harris was actually a relatively solid receiving back. So I don't understand why at the NFL level, they're just really not using him that way. Now, in college, he never surpassed like 25 receptions. The most receptions he ever got was 22, but he's not a guy that's going to have some type of insane drop rate. So my kind of assumption here is that maybe Damien Harris will be seeing more dump-offs this season, and I believe Mac Jones will probably, most likely, eventually take over for Cam Newton this season. And when that happens, more rushing volume will go the way of Damien Harris because he kind of gets screwed in the end zone a lot because Cam Newton ends up vulturing him. So last year, in 10 games, he finished as the running back 53 in PPR, 50 in half PPR, and the RB number 44 in standard, averaging 9.1 PPR points per game, 8.9 half PPR points per game, and 8.6 standard points per game. Meaning, from a points per game perspective, he was the RB 39, tied with Wayne Gallman, Latavius Murray, and Jamal Williams, RB 36 in half PPR, and the running back number 33 in standard. He was a huge sleeper. I was talking up last season. Obviously, it didn't technically pay off, but when the guy was playing, when he was healthy, he was actually relatively solid week in and week out, but he really did depend on that touchdown because of the very low amount of receiving volume he was seeing in New England last season, which again, I expect to go up. Like I said, he only had 7 targets last season, 5 receptions, and 52 receiving yards. He had 137 carries, 13.7 per game, 691 rushing yards with just 137 carries, 20th at running back, and 2 total touchdowns on the season. Damien Harris is a very talented running back that I believe is finally starting to get the praise that he deserves. So make sure that you hammer down on drafting Damien Harris before your league mates catch on that this is a very good opportunity for a running back in New England. So thank you guys all so much for watching this video. If you did end up enjoying thus far, please make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below. Not only is it free, me and the guys on the Awesemo Fantasy Football YouTube channel put out content every single day to help you guys win win your 2021 Fantasy Football Championship. Make sure you follow me on Twitter as well, at NotoriousFNTSY. Make sure you hit that like button while you're at it. I love you guys. Have a great rest of your guys' day. As always, good boy.